Hey NFL fans, before we dive into today's hottest stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. From NFL News now, the Philadelphia Eagles are officially in turbulent waters, and the storm seems to be centered around their franchise quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Coming off an absolutely gut-wrenching loss where they blew a 21-point lead to the Dallas Cowboys, the Eagles followed that debacle with another disheartening performance. This time against the Chicago Bears, it was a game that perfectly highlighted the inconsistencies that have plagued this team all season, a game where the offense looked disjointed, the play calling uninspired, and Hurts himself seemed unable to find a rhythm. The Eagles now sit at 8 wins and 4 losses, a record that suggests playoff potential on paper. But the way they are playing raises serious questions about their ability to advance far in the postseason, and as fans and analysts look at the tape, one narrative is beginning to dominate the conversation. Jalen Hurts, the very quarterback who should be the engine driving this team, may not be fully embracing the offense the way it needs him to, following the disappointing defeat to the Bears. Philadelphia sports reporter Jimmy Kempski shared a quote that is now echoing through the league. And among fans, the Eagles had one of the best rushing attacks in league history last season. That's gone. Saquon Barkley simply isn't the same runner he was a year ago. And he's not being helped by Hurts, who I'm told does not love having a lot of designed QB runs in the game plan. That quote alone is enough to make any Eagles supporter pause. Here is a quarterback who has been at the heart of this team's offensive identity since taking over as the starter in 2021, and suddenly, there is a suggestion that he is hesitant to use one of his biggest weapons, his legs. The implications are significant when an offense is sputtering, when wide receivers aren't creating separation, when the offensive line is struggling, and when defenses are stacking the box against Saquon Barkley. The quarterback must step up. And Hurts' ability to run the football has historically been a key element of keeping defenses honest. The numbers tell a story that is just as alarming as the headlines. Last season, the Eagles' rushing attack was among the best in football. Powered by Barkley's phenomenal season, Barkley rushed for over 1,000 yards and consistently broke tackles, creating explosive plays that changed games in an instant. This season, however, the run game has largely evaporated. Barkley's production has fallen off a cliff, and the offensive line has struggled to create consistent lanes. But Hurts' role in this decline cannot be understated. In his first few seasons as a starter, he became a cornerstone of the run game, with designed quarterback runs and scrambles creating significant yardage. From 2021 through 2024, his performance on the ground varied, but even in his lowest rushing season, he averaged 35.6 rushing yards per game with 9.2 attempts per game. This season, Hurts' numbers are even lower. Through 12 games, he is averaging only 27.4 yards per game on 7 carries. For a quarterback whose legs were once considered an extension of the offense, this is a drastic decline, and it raises serious questions about whether the Eagles are fully utilizing their most dynamic player. There is, of course, a reasonable argument to be made about why Hurts may be hesitant to run more often. Health concerns are legitimate. The NFL is a brutal league, and quarterbacks take hits unlike any other position. Preserving Hurts' health makes sense if the Eagles are planning a deep playoff run. After all, a quarterback who is constantly exposed to hits is more likely to suffer injuries that could derail the entire season. But there is also a balance that needs to be struck. The Eagles' offense is missing its spark right now. When Hurts does run, it has proven to create momentum and yardage that the team cannot otherwise generate. In the game against the Bears, for example, Hurts had only to design quarterback runs. One of these runs came on a touchdown drive where he picked up 23 yards, skillfully stepping out of bounds to avoid unnecessary contact. That play accounted for a significant portion of the team's offensive success in a game where otherwise they struggled to move the chains. The lesson is clear. Hurts can run effectively, gain meaningful yardage, and protect his body at the same time. Limiting his involvement in designed runs is not only reducing the team's offensive versatility, but is also contributing to the stagnation that has become the norm this season. The Eagles' offensive struggles go beyond just the running game. Jalen Hurts has faced inconsistencies in the drop-back passing game, with inaccurate throws and hesitation under pressure becoming more pronounced in recent weeks. Receivers are dropping passes, tight ends are struggling to find openings in the zone, and the offensive line is having trouble sustaining blocks for longer developing plays. In this context, Hurts' legs become more than a complementary weapon, they become a lifeline. When defenses are daring the Eagles to throw, when linebackers are sitting in the gap and safeties are cheating down to stop Barkley, a quarterback willing to scramble or take off on a designed run forces defenses to account for another variable. The Eagles' inability to do this consistently is making them predictable and easier to defend. Opposing teams can load the box, blitz Hurts without fear of him taking off, and limit the big plays that once defined this offense. It is a scenario that becomes increasingly dangerous. As the playoff race heats up and the margin for error shrinks, some will argue that Hurts' reluctance to run is understandable from a career longevity perspective. Quarterbacks are under constant scrutiny, and avoiding unnecessary hits is a smart strategy if the team has the talent around him to win games without him having to run. But right now, the talent alone is not carrying the team. The offensive line cannot consistently create gaps for Barkley. The receivers are struggling to create separation, and the passing game is not firing on all cylinders. Hurts' legs are not just an option, they are a necessity. By designing more plays for him to run, the Eagles could restore balance to the offense, create more explosive opportunities, and take pressure off the passing game. The combination of Hurts running effectively and Barkley producing on the ground could turn an inconsistent offense into a dominant one, but it requires a shift in mentality. The Eagles need to embrace the dual-threat nature of their quarterback fully and adjust the game plan accordingly. There are no easy solutions for Philadelphia. Coaching changes, personnel adjustments, or switching play caller philosophies may help in the long term, but in the immediate term, one of the most direct ways to rejuvenate this struggling offense is through Jalen Hurts. He needs to be a quarterback who does not just throw from the pocket, but actively participates in the run game, creating a level of unpredictability that defenses cannot ignore. His ability to read defenses, pick up critical yards on the ground, and make plays with his legs is something the Eagles cannot afford to sideline. The Bears game, the Cowboys collapse, and the overall season trajectory highlight that relying solely on a conventional passing offense is insufficient. Hurts must be empowered, encouraged, and schemed to take advantage of the talent he possesses and the history he has established as a runner. Philadelphia Eagles fans are understandably frustrated. The team has elite talent, playoff aspiration, and a quarterback capable of changing the game in multiple ways. Yet the offense is failing to live up to its potential. Jalen Hurts is the central figure in this struggle. If he remains hesitant to embrace his role as a runner fully, the Eagles' offense risks becoming one-dimensional, predictable, and ultimately less dangerous to opposing teams. On the other hand, if the coaching staff and Hurts can find the right balance between preserving his health and utilizing his legs effectively, the Eagles could rediscover the explosive, balanced attack that made them one of the most formidable teams in the league just last season. The next few weeks will be critical. Every carry, every scramble, and every designed run could become a defining factor in determining whether the Eagles maintain their playoff hopes or continue to sputter under mounting pressure. It is a pivotal moment for Jalen Hurts, for Philadelphia, and for the entire narrative of this season. At the end of the day, the conversation comes down to execution, trust, and the willingness to embrace all aspects of what a quarterback can bring to the field. Hurts has proven he can run. He has proven he can create chaos for defenses. What he must now prove is that he is willing to do it consistently, even in a league where hits come fast and hard. For the Eagles, the clock is ticking, the margin for error is narrowing, and every decision counts. The time for hesitation may be over. If Jalen Hurts can fully embrace the designed run game, the Eagles' offense could transform from stagnant and frustrating to explosive and dynamic almost overnight. The question is whether the team will have the courage to make that change before it is too late, and whether Hurts will rise to the challenge, not just as a quarterback who throws, but as one who embodies the full threat he was always meant to be. The path forward is clear, the potential is enormous, but action must follow recognition. The Eagles cannot afford to wait. Keep watching as we analyze more details about some rumors. Rumors had been swirling for weeks, and now, finally, the whispers have solidified into what appears to be reality. ESPN has reportedly confirmed that MYLES GARRETT, one of the most dominant defensive ends in the league, has agreed to a deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. The news is sending shockwaves through the NFL. And not just because of the obvious talent Garrett brings to the table. This is the kind of move that doesn't just tweak a roster. It reshapes the entire defensive identity of a team. Imagine the line of scrimmage suddenly becoming a war zone, a place where quarterbacks start to feel real fear in their step, where offensive coordinators rethink every play, and where the Eagles' front seven could transform overnight from formidable to outright terrifying. The narrative around Philadelphia has always leaned on the idea of an aggressive, opportunistic defense, but adding Garrett as the anchor, as the undisputed cornerstone, takes that story to an entirely new level. The chatter around the league suggests that this isn't just a signing, it's a statement. It's the Eagles declaring loudly and clearly that their window for dominance is wide open, and they're willing to pull every lever to make sure their defense becomes as iconic as their offense. Myles Garrett's arrival in Philly has been the subject of endless speculation. For months, insiders and analysts have been dissecting every word, every tweet, every minor hint from agents and team executives, trying to predict where he might land. Some argued he would stay with his previous team. Others suggested he might chase a new challenge or even a massive payday somewhere else, but the momentum behind Philadelphia grew steadily, and now, with ESPN reportedly confirming the deal, it feels like the pieces have finally fallen into place. The excitement isn't just about what Garrett has done in the past, though. His stats, his sacks, and his highlight reel plays speak for themselves. It's about what he could become as the centerpiece of a defense hungry to make a statement. Eagles fans, long accustomed to seeing flashes of defensive brilliance, can now dream bigger. Garrett is the kind of player who doesn't just plug a hole or fill a role. He rewrites the narrative. Suddenly, matchups against Philadelphia aren't about scheming against a couple of standout players. They're about bracing for the full force of one of the league's most fearsome defensive setups. And yet, there's an air of mystery, a kind of electric anticipation, in the way this deal has come together. NFL insiders are buzzing with the implications. How will Garrett fit into the existing defensive scheme? What kind of adjustments will the coaching staff make to maximize his talents? The conversations in sports bars, online forums, and Twitter threads are almost dizzying in their volume. And one thing is clear, Garrett's presence changes everything. He's not just a player you rotate in for a few snaps, he's a game changer. Someone who demands attention on every single play. Quarterbacks will have to think twice before stepping up in the pocket. Running backs will feel the heat before even hitting the line, and opposing offenses will have to play chess against a mind and a body that are as physically intimidating as they are strategically brilliant. The Eagles are betting on a transformation, and if the early reports are accurate, they're not hedging, they're placing Garrett front and center as the pillar of a defense that suddenly looks like it could rival any in the league, anytime, anywhere. The locker room dynamic is also a topic of intense speculation. Veterans in Philadelphia are reportedly excited about the addition, seeing Garrett as someone who not only elevates the on-field performance, but also brings a new level of leadership and intensity to the team. Young players, meanwhile, are likely to benefit from his experience and work ethic. The aura around Garrett isn't just about sacks and tackles, it's about presence. He's the kind of player who changes the energy in practice, who sets a standard, and who inspires those around him to push harder, play smarter, and demand more of themselves. Rumors suggest that the coaching staff has been working closely with him even before the official confirmation, integrating his style, his tendencies, and his strengths into the broader defensive playbook. There's a sense of orchestration here, a carefully planned approach that makes it clear Philadelphia isn't just reacting, they're strategizing, shaping the future with precision. But of course, as with any big NFL move, questions remain. How long will Garrett stay healthy? How will opposing offenses adjust once they study the tape and begin to scheme specifically against him? Will this signing inspire other teams to make counter moves, triggering a ripple effect throughout the league? The speculation is endless, and that's part of what makes this so exhilarating for fans. There's a story unfolding, one that's not just about stats or contracts, but about the kind of excitement and drama that makes the NFL so addictive. Every game now has the potential for new layers of intrigue. Analysts will pore over formations, commentators will discuss possible matchups endlessly, and fans will eagerly debate whether Philadelphia has finally achieved the kind of defensive dominance that can propel them all the way to the top. Garrett isn't just joining a team, he's entering a narrative, one that's already filled with tension, ambition, and the hope of something historic. And in the midst of all this, the murmurs continue. There are still debates about salary cap implications, about the long-term vision of the front office, and about whether this move signals a larger pattern of aggressive acquisitions. But even amidst the financial and strategic considerations, the excitement for fans is visceral. Garrett is the kind of player whose impact transcends X and O's. He brings emotion, anticipation, and a sense of watch out. Something big is coming to every snap. The locker rooms of opposing teams will feel the shift before anyone even sees the stat sheet. There's an almost cinematic quality to imagining him lining up against an offensive tackle with the crowd roaring and the quarterback's pulse quickening. Rumors hint that practices have already been electric, that his energy is infectious, and that the Eagles might be on the cusp of something truly special. It's also worth noting that this move could change the broader perception of Philadelphia in the league. Historically, they've been known for toughness, for resilience, and for cultivating defensive talent. Garrett's presence amplifies all of that, creating a narrative where the Eagles are not just contenders, they are a looming threat, a team that can impose its will week in and week out. The ripple effect could be enormous, influencing draft strategies, free agent negotiations, and even how rival teams approach their own defensive schemes. Rumors are already flying about potential follow-up moves, about how the team might double down on this new defensive identity, and how coaches will leverage Garrett's unique skill set to create matchups nightmares for every offense in the NFL. The excitement is infectious because the possibilities seem endless, and fans can't help but imagine what a season could look like with Garrett as the centerpiece of a relentless, disciplined, and terrifying defensive unit. Even beyond the immediate implications on the field, there's a story here about ambition, strategy, and timing. Garrett's move to Philly is not just about talent acquisition, it's about vision. The Eagles are signaling that they are willing to bet on the now, to invest in a player who can define an era, and to embrace the risks and rewards that come with such a bold decision. There's drama in every corner, how Garrett adapts to a new city, a new locker room, and a new coaching philosophy. How the team's chemistry evolves, and how the fans, already known for their intensity, react to having a player of this magnitude in their midst. The buzz around the team is palpable, and the rumor mill suggests that insiders are already talking about how this move could shift the balance of power in the NFC, potentially reshaping the playoff landscape. In short, Myles Garrett to Philadelphia is more than a signing, it's a seismic shift. A story that will dominate headlines, forums, and sports talk for months to come. The rumors, the speculation, and the confirmation by ESPN are just the beginning of a narrative that promises drama, intensity, and a whole new level of defensive football. Eagles fans have reason to feel electrified, while the rest of the league should be preparing for a new kind of challenge. Garrett isn't just a player joining a team, he's a force, a catalyst, and potentially the defining piece of a defense that could leave an indelible mark on the NFL. And as the whispers grow louder, the anticipation builds, because everyone knows that once Garrett steps on that field, the story of the Eagles' defense will never be the same again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your fellow NFL fans. Stay tuned for more updates, only here on NFL News Now.